Okay, let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Downtime presented by Conequip Parts, where if you have downtime, you might as well spend it with us. Everybody, say hello to Andrew. Say hello to the producer, Seth. Yeah, we talked about... Hell yeah, dude. Anyway, I don't know. What are we talking about today, man?
The city that everybody seemed to enjoy, but was very dark. Roll the intro. Hi, Luke.
What up, Andrew?
Okay, yeah. Let me tell them. Downtime, it's about time. Big bad problem, trying to strip it down line. Downtime, turning all the cash to dirt. Downtime, getting us back to work.
Yeah, Seth, my baby boy. I'm so proud of you, Seth. Oh,
thank you.
Yeah, Seth just turned 15, everybody. We are going to go over Kowloon Walled City. I know Andrew loves this. I think Seth just learned about it.
Yes.
And it's pretty intense, dude. Kowloon Walled City, which I won't get into, because this has been around for since probably the 1400s or something.
Kowloon?
It was originally the actual area.
Oh, yeah.
It was originally a Chinese military fort. And it was roughly only 6.5 acres, which is not a lot. It is a pretty tiny area, but at the time, it's a military fort. There's not a ton of people living there. Its population increased dramatically after the end of Japanese occupation of Hong Kong during World War II, attracting mostly refugees fleeing the renewed Chinese Civil War. So there was a lot of war going on and all that kind of stuff. So people were escaping the land that they were on and basically going to Kowloon Walled City and squatting in the fort. They basically occupied the fort. And yeah, there was I think originally 2,000. There was 2,000 refugees that kind of pulled through, and we're just going to live here because it's shelter and we'll do what we got to do, So by the late 1980s, the walled city contained roughly 35,000 residents, resulting in a staggering population density of over 3 million inhabitants per square mile, which I had to look that up because I thought that meant they had 3 million people living there. It's actually just a way they measure the area. So the estimates range from 35,000, which is most people's guess, but some people think there was upwards of 50,000. Either way, tens of thousands of people living in a 6.5 acre, basically a square mile, block in the middle of Hong Kong. Not in the middle of it, but you know what I'm saying.
In Hong Kong.
In Hong Kong. They started building up, and I think at a certain point there was a fire. There was a fire where this entire city that people, built up and everything, the refugees and all that stuff, they built it up. There was a fire.
Literally built up. Because they couldn't build out.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't allow them, so they're just we're going up.
Yeah, exactly. So you had this
a square mile, but
and then
vertical.
At a point, you had 30,000 people living there. The only way to go was up. So they built up with very rough materials, and somehow it lasted. But the city burnt down originally, I want to say in the 1940s or something, and everybody was obviously devastated. The little things that they were able to gather, and it all got burnt, and the place they lived got burnt. But it kind of created a more level land, but they were able to start from scratch basically. And instead of being upset by it, which they were initially upset, they were kind of almost we can rebuild. And this community of people came together and rebuilt their little city, which was kind of just a beautiful thing of humanity, a community coming together and just, obviously it's weird, the infrastructure and everything and all that stuff that was built.
That's why I think it's so cool.
Yeah.
It's only 35,000 people. It's not a ton, but
Right.
they're all so close knit that it's one. It's
Yeah.
a tribe of
Dude,
people.
it's crazy.
Wouldn't you
With a
just want
similar
to way
goal.
out after something like that happens?
What do you mean?
Like
The fire, you mean?
yeah.
Well, where are they going to go?
Yeah,
They don't have jobs. You don't have money.
they worked in Kowloon.
Mm-hmm.
A lot
Doesn't
of
rebuilding require something though?
yeah.
You mean money-wise?
Yeah.
They took a lot of wood from the old shacks that burnt down, and
rebuilt.
anything that they could find basically is what they
That's
rebuilt.
a miracle how the whole place didn't just
I know.
go
Constantly.
flames.
it was actually like pretty structurally sound at a certain point because all the buildings started kind of leaning in on each other.
Melding.
And they were melding, and they started building like stairways and passages. You could go through the entire city without even being on the ground because they created such a maze system
like a
and
rat
everything.
tunnel.
Also, kind of a miracle how many fires didn't start.
Right.
That's
Just
right. Yes, a
one.
lot of the electrical like systems and stuff were all like patched into each other and yada yada yada.
And
Like,
they just had little box TVs for, like really little box TVs for some entertainment, very little lighting. The government eventually, which we'll get into that. There's some other things we want to go over here. There was an absence of government for the longest time. So basically this quickly turned into a lawless territory for crime and like black market trade. So people were like lots of drugs going through this place. It was basically ran by like local triad gangs who were just kind of terrorizing the area, bringing drugs in. Dog meat was another thing you could get here because it wasn't legal anywhere else, and apparently they love dog meat.
dog
I don't
meat,
want to do that.
opium.
But, opium. There was a lot of
Stuff.
brothels. There was a lot of bad things going on in here. Just because of the triad gangs, but then there were like really nice people just trying to get by in this town. So trade in banned products thrived, ranging from narcotics, dog meat. From the 1950s to the 1970s, like I said, it was controlled by the gangs with high rates of prostitution, gambling, and drug abuse. It wasn't until 1973 and 1974 when a series of more than 3,500 police raids resulted in over 2,500 arrests and over 4,000 pounds of drugs seized that's when the triads kind of that's how they were able to get the triads basically out of there and make this a more safe area for the people there.
Is this still a place that's up and running?
No, it's gone.
No,
they tore it down.
Yeah,
They tore
little
the whole
spoiler
thing.
alert, they tore it down.
There's
Yeah.
a park there.
It's a park. It's a Kowloon Walled City Park. And there's still like remnants of it. Like I think the South Gate, they still have parts of that. And then there's other pieces of the building that are there just kind of as artifacts. But the entire place is dismantled, trees. You just walk through a park now, which is nice,
It's cool that they were like, instead of just turning this into another industrial complex, we can turn this into a park and
Right.
almost a museum of sorts. It's cool.
Yeah,
It's very
kind of.
cool.
And then, although the rampant crime of earlier decades diminished in later years, the Walled City was still known for its high number of unlicensed doctors and dentists who could operate there without the threat of prosecution. So a lot of like actual medical professionals who were professionals at one point with a license, I think it got to the point where they didn't want to renew their license. They could go into Kowloon Walled City and do all their stuff for free with no law there, so they were actually, trained. You can go there, get your teeth pulled, get your teeth cleaned or whatever. You'd be in a very dingy place, but they knew what they were doing. So people from outside Kowloon Walled City would go here to get their teeth done or get a checkup or something like that, which is pretty cool. And businesses started to thrive there. And like I think you were saying, like somebody would, like the watch thing that you were mentioning.
With everything was connected, so you could walk into a random store like a broken watch, and the shopkeeper would be like, "Oh, do you want your watch fixed?" And you're like, "Oh, this is like a candy store. What are you talking about?" You'd give him the watch. He would go into the back room, go through the tunnels essentially, and go to some other guy that can fix the watch, and he comes back 10 minutes later with your fixed watch. And you're like, oh, okay, cool.
There were tons of businesses here, and it was actually the video that I was watching. It was actually super profitable. Like Kowloon City, they were, what were they making? They were making something that was being moved out of Kowloon Walled City. So maybe they were kind of making money in a sense to get more supplies to, yes. Sure. But it was actually super profitable. Like people were making stuff there. There was obviously no work conditions. There were kids working and everything, but they were churning out stuff that was used across the world, or at least across China, which was pretty sweet. But you had food places and everything. It was like it was a community of but it was 14 stories high, and 14 stories in Kowloon Walled City is probably different than your typical 14 stories because it's built so weirdly, randomly. But yeah, developers started building new modular structures on top of older ones that created those laws. So there was a restriction of 14 stories because there was like a flight path of planes like right nearby. I think it was right by an airport, and they're like, listen, the planes aren't going to get over this, and we're going to destroy your city probably if you keep building up, kind of.
Who ran the city?
The gangs.
So when
Of
you talk to
Kowloon Walled
somebody
City?
about
Yeah, they didn't have like a president or anything. Like there was no leaders. It was just like the gangs went in there and ran it until the government did decide to step in and get all of them out and get rid of, what was it, 4,000 pounds of drugs that were in there.
3,500 or what
Raids
is
is
it? Raids
crazy.
is-
Yeah, yeah.
You probably had a fun year, I guess, if you were a
It's
police
10 raids a
officer.
day almost.
Yeah, right. They tried to demolish parts of the city, but that created an anti-demolition committee of basically the community coming together and saying, like, listen,
Don't
this
do
is
that.
this is our land. We don't want you doing that. There was a bunch of protests, and they decided, okay, whatever, hands off. The government kept kind of like, they were kind of stuck in a place where they were like, well, we don't want it there, but we don't also want to try and relocate all these people. Like, it was weird. Like, they were kind of nice about it, but then mean about it in other ways. So after like the anti-demolition committee came out, they were like, okay, we'll, try to supply you guys water and electricity. So they were trying to do that, but obviously
didn't work
in a
out.
14-story shack made of whatever, there's only so much you can do there, but they were at least trying to
How
get
do you
them
even
clean
get
water.
through that? That doesn't even
Right.
sound feasible.
I don't know if it was plumbing or more so like we created a well for you guys so you at least
Good
have
luck.
drinking water and you can wash your clothes or something like that. I have no idea. Demolition began in March 1993 when they actually started to demolish this place. And it was completed in 1994. It was then opened in 95, and it's a city park now. The government, when they decided to demolish this, they used in Hong Kong dollars 2.7 billion, which is about 350 million in US dollars, to give compensation to the estimated 33,000 residents and businesses in a plan devised by a special committee of Hong Kong, basically. And obviously, some people were happy to take that compensation and leave. A lot of them, came to America and everything. Other people were really upset, like justifiably. There's chances some of them lived their whole life there, and they don't want to move. So some people didn't think the compensation was enough, but that's kind of a situation that's hard to win.
You can't possibly think
33,000
that situation's
people.
gonna last.
Exactly. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because it became an eyesore or if it, if it
dangerous
just
and
became too dangerous and there were.
lawless.
Yeah, because the reason the government originally stepped in is because there was a murder trial of a murder that happened in Kowloon Walled City. Even though it was obviously there were gangs and everything, but there wasn't a lot of like death, or there was violence, but not like people were living there. Like it wasn't crime. It was crime ridden. I don't know how to say this.
It wasn't a utopia.
Crime-ridden.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Well, to the extent of murders.
Yeah, but the actual construction of it, so obviously you started with like your first buildings, and since they couldn't grow out, they grew up, and some of these, like it looks like they almost like cut down like a bunch of telephone poles and just like put it on top of a building and like scaffolding, and like it's really like you look at it, you're like, that's not gonna last, and somehow it did, dude, because like I said, as soon as once it got up really high, obviously it's not structurally sound, it's not even ground, it started going in. So if you were on the bottom floor, you're getting zero sunlight because it started to close in. And then that's when they started making
on the inside.
Yeah, you had to be on the top floor to see the sunlight, basically, which is where a lot of people went. So the top floor was like kind of their lounge area because that's how you're going to get daylight. So like all the adults would go up there, and it's like plywood, and there's a ton of people up there, and they're just kind of chilling, and the kids were just playing on these rooftops. Like that was like one of the big things that they were so fond of, was like, we're 14 stories up, we're playing on the rooftops, this is just normal to them, but they're 14 stories up still, like bad things can happen.
Kid like making a mistake and falling off 14 stories. It's
dude, yeah. And if you grew up here, you're probably pretty fearless. you know?
Yeah, you probably don't really have much of a fear of heights, I would say.
Or
Like,
gangs. I loved my gangs, dude.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's true, though, if you're a kid, like, gangs don't really mess with the kids all like that. Like, the mafia doesn't mess with kids. The gangs don't mess with kids.
Think about it
Yeah.
in the fact
Until
of
you're
they
like
mess
16.
with the kids.
Yeah, then they're like, come join.
Yeah. But the coolest thing about all this, aside from the structure itself and everything, is people, you had, you know, potentially 35, potentially 50,000 to some estimates, living here, and all of like the testimonials of these people talking about it, because most of them were like children growing up there, they remember it very fondly. They loved their upbringing. Like it was such a tight community and everybody helped each other, and you knew a lot of people. Your neighbors were very nice because you had to be, because you were right on top of each other. Some of these people didn't sleep in rooms. There were like makeshift rooms on like staircases and stuff that they had to sleep on. But it didn't bother any of them. Like they still had their food, you know, because there were businesses around, but also just like neighbors helping neighbors, and they remember it.
Did
and
they
there were
leave
other
the city at all, or what?
Huh?
And people left the city, I'm assuming,
Why?
right?
Why would you
Or-
need to? You got everything you need right there.
Yeah.
And
Well, once it was demolished, yeah, you had to leave it.
Well, like,
but
I mean, I'm assuming the business owners got
I'd assume some
whatever
of
they
them.
needed to outside of, like, if
Right.
they're selling meat, you had to go somewhere to probably go get the meat.
Yeah. True.
I guess you could get
True.
it delivered to you, but
Yeah. I don't know how like the trade system and everything worked in the building, but yeah.
one of the comments I read was that like it was somebody who grew up there, and he was like, yeah, it wasn't a bad childhood, but I didn't grow up thinking, oh, we're poor. So everyone else was also in the same situation. They were just that poor. So everyone was in the same situation. Nobody was like, there was no like caste system.
Yeah.
So it was like everybody's just helping everybody because everybody's in the same
Right.
situation.
Make the best out of a bad situation. And like I mentioned, dude, if you're a child here, if you were born in Kowloon Walled City, you don't know any different. So like, unless you're watching like a little box TV and you're like, oh, that's New York City or something like that, you know.
How would you know any different?
But yeah, like that's what they know. That's what they were born knowing, and they had other children to play with, and that was enough for them to be like, I had a great childhood. I was in the walled city, and you could just sprint around without even being on the floor. Dude, imagine hide and seek.
Oh,
Dude.
you'd be crazy.
just, I don't think people probably locked up. How much stealing was probably in that thing? Like, locking up your business?
I think it was a trust system, dude. There probably weren't locks. Like, it was all trust. Like, this
Yeah.
person does this for me, and I do this for them, you know?
A bartering system probably was a big...
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said with the watch, like, here's a slice of bacon for your troubles
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
like that.
yeah, I appreciate that. Here's 2 buttons and a slice of bacon. Like, I appreciate you.
Yeah, dude.
In a
I know
way,
you've been
it's
looking for the
kinda
buttons.
simple. It feels like the good parts of this city were pretty good.
Yeah.
They're like everything that you'd kind of want it to be. But, I mean, there's drugs, so...
Yeah.
Drugs, and then that leads to violence, and then a whole bunch of
Yeah.
other things. So
It
it's
w-
like...
And it was really weird seeing, because you'd assume it was all just like jagged, and people just understood how to get to places. There were actually like business signs, like, you know, across you'd see like, oh, this is a restaurant or this is that, and it's like they actually did everything in their power to make it look
Normal.
like a city, you know, like, and yeah,
They had a courtyard in there, did they not?
yeah, but no sun.
It's just a shade courtyard.
Yeah, shady courtyard. Yeah. But yeah, that's basically the walled city of Kowloon. It's insane. I would love to. I wish I could go see it like in person. You know.
Would cool to be like walk through a simulation of it.
Yeah.
And it inspired a ton of stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
all the every futuristic dystopian movie that you can think of probably has some sort of Kowloon Walled City
Yeah.
vibe to it.
Yeah, and
Judge Dredd.
And some of the ones that were like proven, they used the walled city as inspiration. There was a walled neighborhood called the Narrows in the 2005 film Batman Begins, which I'd have to go back and look at that, but fantastic movie. Cillian Murphy got me.
Oh, there he is.
4K.
Whoa.
4K, baby.
Whoa.
4K, Cillian Murphy on the sleeve.
Cillian Murphy,
Shout out
if you're
Peaky
watching.
Blinders. But he was Scarecrow in that. That was a really good movie. And then was also an aesthetic basis for certain cities in The Legend of Korra, which is a sequel to Avatar: The Last
I love
Airbender.
that. I love
Yeah,
that show.
so that's pretty cool. And then it was also in a ton of video games, but the most notable one I found was Black Ops 2. and the map is
It's
actually
just a
called
straight up-
Kowloon.
Yeah, it's just straight up depiction of
We were
Kowloon
like,
as
we were
well.
like, what map was that? And then Andrew's like, oh, it's straight up called
It's just
Kowloon.
Kowloon, yeah. I don't
Wait,
remember that one at
what?
all.
Yeah.
I don't remember that one at all.
I wasn't
was
a
in
Call
one
of
of the
Duty guy,
DLCs.
but yeah.
There was a zombie map that was basically that was kind of like Kowloon.
But yeah, I mean, Kowloon Walled City. If there's any other structures that you guys find very interesting and you'd like us to cover, I mean, it's all construction based, so we're
We hit our
sprinkling that
10%
construction in there.
construction for the year.
Yeah, but
We're done.
let us know, 716-929-5066. If there's anything you want to talk about, you can also send us voicemails, videos, texts, whatever you want to do. And
If you're building a Kowloon Walled City in your backyard of 6 square miles, acres, you probably, well, I don't know if they had equipment or not, but if you were doing it now,
don't think so.
you probably have equipment, at least one piece of equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Judging by the infrastructure, they did not.
A Timu
Wow.
excavator.
Yeah, they had.
They created the
if
Timu excavator.
I don't know if we can help
That's
with
where
a
Timu
excavator.
started.
Timu
Kowloon.
You know who to call. It's Conequip. They sponsor every podcast that you guys watch.
Of ours,
Of
not
ours.
like Joe Rogan. or
Yeah, we
anything.
can't afford Joe Rogan
Yeah.
yet. We do a bunch of parts.
Yeah. Yep.
Axles, booms, buckets, hydraulics, final drives, tracks, undercarriage, anything you could possibly need for any piece of heavy equipment of any make. Cat, Komatsu, Volvo even.
Yeah. Covering
Kubota.
all the bases.
All of them. 836-5069, 716-836-5069, or go online, conequip.com/shop. We've got 30,000 SKUs.
And counting.
Thank you, Seth. We're adding more all the time.
So sultry.
So sultry.
So yeah, that's gonna do it for Kowloon Walled City, everybody. As always, we're gonna end with our ins and outs. So out, Kowloon Walled City.
It's gone.
In, cows looming in the shadows of green pastures. That was stupid. All right, next.
Wow.
That was a sultry voice.
Shadows.
Or
I love cows, dude.
That's also a cow in the courtyard of Kowloon.
Yeah, dude.
That was the only
They had
cow.
a single cow. That was the pet. That was
was the
everybody's
zoo.
pet.
Was
Like,
the
don't
zoo.
you dare eat him. We got dogs for that.
What's his name? His name's Cow.
Loon.
It's cow from Cow and Chicken.
Boy.
I have one.
Okay.
Out the line.
Okay.
In, let's make a 6 square mile instead of 6 square acres or whatever the heck it was. Kowloon.
Yeah.
Just make a new Kowloon, just 6 square miles, a little bit
Yeah.
more feasible.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot
more space.
And-
Maybe you only have to go up 5 stories instead.
Yeah.
You know?
And shoot, you can connect it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Whatever, man.
That was
Connect the
the charm of
dots.
Kowloon. Connect it. Everything. You can, and then have a courtyard
Yeah.
and put a cow in there for sure.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Very dystopian, dude. I love it.
Out big cities,
Okay.
in talking to your neighbors,
Really?
having a community, you know?
Ugh.
Yeah, I feel the same way, but I think it would, I mean, I talked to
I live in
one
a
set of
city and I
neighbors.
talk to all my neighbors, dude.
You said out city?
Like big cities. Like,
Okay, so
I'm thinking
Buffalo's
like
not really a big city.
I'm
in
s-
suburbs basically too then.
yeah, but like talking to your neighbors just in general.
Yeah,
I talk to
true.
my neighbors and I'm in the city.
I'm gonna give
I'm a good
shout
guy.
out.
You are
I'm
a
gonna give a
good guy.
shout out to Michelle's calling me.
Great. Answer it.
Shout out to Michelle.
Shout out
And
my
neighbors.
neighbor Ruby.
Oh.
Shout out
She's like
Ruby.
mad old now, but like when I was like,
She's probably gonna watch this and then she's gonna come talk to you.
no, like I feel like not bad for her, but like okay, so when we were like 12 or whatever, and we just moved to the house that my parents are currently at, she would always like give us food, popsicles in the summer. We were playing hockey in the street. She'd come out with just ice cream. Y'all want ice cream?
Heck yeah.
Oh yeah, Ruby, I'd love some.
Hell yeah, dude. I
Yeah,
love that.
she's-
Anyway,
hell.
catch
Anyways.
us next week where we talk about
We don't know yet.
Sheep looming darkly in a forested field.
Oh, nice.
Okay,
Yeah, forest.
Maybe we'll
That's
talk
an-
about that.
That's some imagery.
That's
right
gonna be
there. I
huge.
can't even
Think
visual-
about it.
Huge
forested
topic.
field.
Yeah.
A forested field.
Yeah. So, anyways, be sure to tune in next week to enjoy your downtime with Downtime. Peace out.
Bye.